Well, hiya, folks. Chris.
Hello. What's the matter, Scott? You seem glum.
Well, I'm still just reeling from the loss of that. I was waiting for the. I was wanting to show the world. You know.
Well, the world gets to wait.
Well, the world is going to.
The world is going to see that beard come off.
Nobody wants to see the beard come off.
Yes, they do.
Everybody. We took a poll, or I did independently. I called around. I just randomly dialed phone numbers, and they all said hat.
Whose phone number do you have?
I just random numbers, you know.
Okay.
1-800.
So you basically asked them if they wanted a free hat, and they all said, "Yes, I want a hat."
No, speaking of hats.
You've already plugged the hat.
But I love it. It's my favorite hat.
Okay, why are we here? What are we doing?
Oh yes, thank you. So this is part number 2 of. Can I say something? So yes, I've been coming up. Actually, I came up with 2 topics. Chris has a topic.
I have a topic of my own.
So we'll go Scott, Chris, Scott. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay, number 1. Can I say something?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, number 1. Or the deal is, undefeated streaks among new wrestlers. Overrated. Kozlov, who cares if he's undefeated? Let's look at, Thwagger, Ortiz, undefeated. Tyson Kidd was undefeated until he lost, of course. I'd say pointless. Because who really cares? Chris?
Okay, the thing about undefeated streaks is, as soon as they lose a match, no pun intended, but it starts a domino effect. Greatest wrestler of all time. But it starts a domino effect. It starts a trickle effect, and they start losing week after week after week, and before you know it, they become irrelevant. It's kind of what's happening to Kozlov right now. Now, I don't know, is Ortiz still undefeated?
No. He actually lost to Swagger. That was his first loss.
Okay, and then, yeah.
But see, that's, to me, it gives too much credence to the people who are too young.
It's meant to,
and too new.
They do it to build people up. They do it as a means to make them credible as quickly. But I disagree. I agree. I think it's kind of stupid. I think, just having, wins, losses, obviously you want more wins and losses, but just make them believable and realistic. I think that's more entertaining.
Why, thank you. Now I think it's your turn to,
Can I say something?
Well, yes, you may.
Backlash. Now, what I want to say is this. Backlash is the pay-per-view after WrestleMania, and the way Backlash has always been set up is it's kind of been a continuation of the events that took place at WrestleMania.
And God help us.
Now, the problem that I have with that is, does it take some of the credibility away from what happens at WrestleMania? Because you can be sitting there watching WrestleMania thinking to yourself, none of this really matters because they're just going to have another match at Backlash to really decide things. So does it take away from, some of the luster and the mystique of WrestleMania because you're thinking to yourself, this storyline's not going to end here? What do you think?
Potentially, yes. But realistically, no. Because I think Mania just has the mystique about it. That, it's big enough a deal that this is the grandest stage of them all. In my opinion. And again, I'm newer to all of this than you are, so.
Yes, but that's the problem that I have with it, because I'm thinking to myself at the end. I thought, literally, at the end of every match, I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm going to have to wait till Backlash to find out what really happens. And it shouldn't be that way. It's WrestleMania. It's meant to be like a,
end-all, be-all.
Exactly. And it doesn't have that feel. It especially didn't have that feel this year.
Okay. So. Interesting. Again, so share your thoughts. That's part of the fun of these videos, is that below you can give us your thoughts. Which leads me to something I wanted to ask. What did I want to ask you? I wanted to ask... Can I say something?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. The loss, you mentioned credibility. The loss of credibility, or the complete loss of mid-card titles, kills, in my opinion, not only the mid-card division, but I think the entire product begins to kind of fold, as it were. And I was telling Chris this, actually right after WrestleMania. I said, we were talking about Punk, And I said, you know what? Maybe Punk doesn't need to be a main eventer. And there is nothing, I think, wrong with being a very strong, solid mid-carder. Would you agree?
I would agree.
And I know that Chris and I, we have our favorites, obviously. And maybe we could admit, maybe Jeff, maybe Morrison, maybe they should be mid-carders. I know you don't agree. But I'm just throwing it out there, maybe. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible.
If it meant something.
Well, that's my point. Is that since it means nothing to have the IC title.
The IC title used to mean a lot. I mean, it used to legitimately be a big deal.
Right.
It's nothing anymore. It's basically a paperweight. I mean,
And
Rey Mysterio won it in 30 seconds.
And I have noticed, just in my time watching, it feels like the rug has been pulled out from under the.
I mean, it's really all.
IC.
It's all about the main event. It's what it's always, not always, but lately been about, is the main event. The U.S. title means nothing. The IC title means nothing. The tag titles certainly don't mean anything. So yeah, it doesn't mean much to be a mid-carder. So obviously, if you know that, you're going to try to be gunning for the main event, which is why I think it gets so crowded up there.
Right.
Because so many people are trying to get to that point.
And as a result, I've noticed, again,
It does
seems
kind of
like
kill
lately,
the product.
well, it seems like everybody's a main eventer. It seems like, it's like, here's Triple H and Orton, and then here's some crappy guys that they're just going to throw them out there, we don't even care about them. They need to put some oomph behind the Jimmy Wang Yangs, behind the Brian Kendricks.
The Brian Kendricks.
Right. I think there are a lot of solid wrestlers that are just thrown by the wayside because they're not
main eventers.
Right. And if there's no title for them to chase, then it's
What's
just
the point?
It's just kind of silly to say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. I've been saying that for a long time, that the IC title and the US title, they need to mean something again. And they don't.
And my point, though, is that the entire product suffers when there's no support. It becomes top-heavy,
I
if you
agree.
will.
I agree. Yeah, it is. It's incredibly top-heavy.
And
Because
unfortunately, there are only a few people who are really true main eventers. And, so I think for the development of the product and even for the future, because a strong mid-carder could turn into a strong main eventer, so let's do that. Right?
We'll work on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We'll write somebody a letter.
Well, would you know people? Okay, well, that's that. And our next, so that's that. We're making a lot of videos tonight, and we don't know exactly when things are going to be seen. So we'll talk. But that was something that we wanted to say.
Yes.
And we'll be back with you soon. Okay.